The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council chambers had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations, but never had they trembled quite like this. Ambassador Riza Chen stood at the center of the circular hall, her dark eyes scanning the assembled representatives of 47 star systems, each one regarding her with a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed disdain. "Another primitive species seeking admission," whispered Counselor Vextar through his translator, his forearms gesturing dismissively. The reptilian being's scales shimmered with condescension. Look at her, still using crude biological form, no cybernetic enhancements visible. Probably can't even manipulate quantum fields. Anna Okafor, Riza's aide and the expedition's xenobiologist, remained silent in the observers section, her fingers dancing across her tablet as she recorded every detail of the alien physiology around them. Where others might see hostility, Anna saw opportunity. Each species represented centuries of evolution, adaptation, and survival that could teach humanity something new. High Counselor Threnke called the session to order, her melodious voice carrying the authority of millennia. The ethereal being floated above her crystalline throne, her translucent form pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "We gather today to evaluate the species, humans, for potential membership in our council. Speak, primitive one. Tell us why your kind deserves to join the civilized galaxy." Riza stepped forward, her simple diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate environmental suits and biomechanical hybrids surrounding her. She had prepared for this moment for 3 years, studying every available piece of intelligence about the Galactic Council, learning their customs, their prejudices, their fears. "Honored counselors," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of representing her entire species. "Humanity comes before you not as supplicants but as partners. We offer something this council has never seen before." A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Several counselors exchanged knowing looks. They had heard such claims from hundreds of species over the millennia. "And what?" Threnke asked with barely concealed amusement. "Could a species that has barely achieved interstellar flight possibly offer us?" Riza smiled, and something in that expression made Anna lean forward with anticipation. She recognized that look. It was the same one Riza had worn when she'd solved the FTL equations that everyone said were impossible. The same one she'd had when she'd convinced the UN to fund humanity's first contact mission, despite having no evidence other species existed. "Adaptability," Riza said simply. "Counselor Vextar, your species evolved on a world with 3 suns and extreme radiation. You developed natural shielding, and can survive in environments that would kill most others. Impressive adaptation to one specific environment." Vextar's scales rippled with indignation, but Riza continued. "Counselor Zeph of the Ethereal Collective, your people transcended physical form millennia ago. You've achieved something many would consider impossible, but you can no longer survive in physical space without artificial constructs." The chamber fell silent. It was considered the height of rudeness to analyze other species so bluntly, yet Riza's tone carried no judgment, only observation. "Each of your species represents the pinnacle of adaptation to your specific circumstances," Riza continued, walking slowly around the chamber's center. "You've achieved perfection within your parameters, but humans, we've achieved something different." Anna found herself holding her breath. This wasn't the speech they'd prepared. "We've achieved persistent imperfection," Riza declared. "We're not the strongest, fastest, or smartest. We can't survive in vacuum like the Void Walkers, can't process quantum information like the synthetic minds, can't manipulate energy fields like the plasma dancers. But we can learn to do all of these things." She paused, letting the words sink in. "In the past century alone, we've gone from surface-bound to interstellar. We've learned to speak 47 different alien languages. We've adapted our technology to work with quantum resonance crystals, plasma fusion cores, and void energy manipulators. Technologies our species had never even conceived of before first contact with each of your worlds." Counselor Myrick of the Machine Collective processed this information, her optical sensors whirring. "Adaptation through learning rather than evolution. Interesting, but ultimately limited. You cannot truly master what you were not designed for." "Can't we?" Riza asked, nodding to Anna. Anna rose from her seat, her heart pounding. This was definitely not part of the plan, but she trusted Riza's instincts more than her own fears. She walked to the chamber's center, where Riza gestured to a complex control panel that managed the station's atmospheric systems. This station maintains 47 different atmospheric compositions, Anna said, her voice carrying the calm confidence of a scientist stating facts. Each perfectly calibrated for your species' needs. What happens when you encounter a 48th? Before anyone could respond, Anna's fingers moved across the panel. Warning lights flashed as the atmospheric composition in the chamber began to shift. Nothing dangerous, she wasn't trying to harm anyone, but the mixture was becoming something none of the assembled species had ever breathed. Panic rippled through the chamber as environmental suits sealed and emergency protocols activated. But Riza and Anna simply stood there, breathing normally as the alien atmosphere washed over them. Impossible, breathed High Counselor Threnke through her environmental shield. No species can survive atmospheric compositions they didn't evolve with. Most species can't, Anna agreed, restoring the chamber's atmosphere to its normal state. But humans have survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, continental drift, and climate change. Not because we're perfectly adapted to any environment, but because we're adequately adapted to change itself. Riza looked around the chamber, meeting the optical sensor's compound eyes and energy fields that passed for vision among the assembled species. You've built a perfect civilization for the species you are today. But what happens when you encounter something truly new, something that requires adaptation beyond your evolutionary parameters? The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then Counselor Vextar spoke, his translator carrying an unusual tone of respect. What are you proposing, human? Partnership, Riza said simply. You have mastery. We have adaptability. Together we can face whatever the universe throws at us next. Because if there's one constant in this universe, it's that everything eventually changes. High Counselor Threnke's form pulsed with rapid bioluminescent patterns, the equivalent of deep thought among her species. You would serve as the Council's adaptation specialist? We would serve as partners, Riza corrected gently. Learning from you, teaching you to learn from unexpected sources. Because humans have one more trait that might prove useful. We're very good at making friends with people who initially wanted to kill us. Anna couldn't suppress a small smile at that. It was perhaps the most human thing Riza could have said. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. For the first time in the Galactic Council's history, they had voted in a species not for what they had achieved, but for what they could become. And as Riza and Anna walked out of the chamber as humanity's first official representatives to the galactic community, both knew that the real adventure was just beginning. The universe was vast, full of wonders and challenges beyond imagination. But humanity had just proven something important. Sometimes being perfectly imperfect was exactly what the galaxy needed.